Hello and welcome back to Peaky Boardgamer. My name is Ektorakos and today I have a very special game to show you, as this game may be the best gamer's game of this year's Essence Spiel, at least for my tastes, and the game is Seti. In Seti, up to 4 players are searching the solar system and nearby stars to find extraterrestrial intelligence. I would recommend you try this game in a full 4-player count. Let's move to the table and see how Seti is played. In the game, players are trying to find signs of extraterrestrial lifeforms by finding 3 different types of traces. Traces of alien life in our solar system by launching probes, navigating in a constantly rotating environment, and then visiting and landing on planets. Traces of life in other star systems by sending signals to outer space, and finally traces by analyzing collected data. Once enough traces have been found, 2 alien species will respond to the calls, adding special gameplay features to the game. Players also develop their operating capabilities by gaining technological advancements. Resources are very valuable but also limited, and players must try to increase their income yield. Playing cards efficiently is a key element to the player's strategy. After 5 rounds, there is scoring and the player with the most points will win in Seti. First, create the main board by placing the board pieces as I show you here. Then, randomly pick 2 alien species boards and without looking any of them, place these into these slots and the rest back into the box. Place the sun in the hole in the board and then place the large board ring, then the medium and finally the yellow ring forming the solar system. To set the system up, go to the below website, a link of which you will find in the description of this video. Press this button and the app will randomize the setup of the solar system, which you must then replicate to your main board. You use these nearby star tiles and place them appropriately around the system and then rotate the rings so that you have exactly the same as the one on the app. Take the 4 gold scoring tiles and after randomizing sides, place them one next to the other in this area. Then take the technology tiles and separate them to the 12 different types and place them to their corresponding space in this area based on what's depicted here. When you're done, flip all stacks to the other side and then place a 2 victory point tile on each one of them. Create a supply of credits, energy and data tokens next to the board. Take enough data from the supply to fill all slots of nearby stars. Shuffle all cards in the game with this back illustration and create a face-down stack next to the board. Then flip the top 3 cards face up next to this stack. Then, using cards from the stack, create 4 sets of cards equal to the number of players plus 1. So in my 3-player example, sets should have 4 cards. Then the 4 stacks are placed here. These are end of round cards. Then take the 2 rotation tokens and place one on stack number 1 and one on this exact space of the rotation track between the blue and the yellow rotation illustrations. If it's a less than a 4 players game, take markers of a non-player color, and if it's a 1 or a 2-player game, fill all of these spaces on those 2 scoring milestones. If it's a 3-player game, place only 1 neutral marker to them. In my example of a 3-player game, I should place them like this. Then, each player gets a personal board and all components of a player color. The player's starting card shows the starting resources of the player. So each player takes 4 credits and 3 energy. They start the game with 4 publicity, which they indicate with their publicity marker on space 4 of this track, and they also draw 5 random cards from the stack. This here is the symbol of increasing income. All players must now choose one of their cards and place it like that underneath their starting card so that this symbol is visible. As soon as you increase your income in the game, you immediately gain the depicted resource, so I take 1 credit. Now I'm done with this side of the starting card and I flip it over. This here is what players will receive when they pass, so the bigger the list, the better it is. Select a player at random to be the starting player who gets this first player token. That player places their scoring marker on space 1 of the scoring track and also this scoring tile next to the track. Following a clockwise turn order, the next player places their marker on space 2, and so on and so forth. The game is now ready to start. A short pause in the video here to remind you that if you haven't done already, please subscribe to this channel. It costs nothing but really makes a difference to me and this channel. Also hit that bell button so you get notified of all our future videos. The game is played in 5 rounds. On every round, players alternate turns starting with the first player. On your turn, you must perform one main action and any number of free actions before or after or during the main action. Your personal board indicates most main actions. They are 7 and can be identified by their hexagonal shape. There is one more action not depicted on the board, the passing action. When you perform this action, you are out of the round, but other players will continue playing until all of them take the passing action as well. That will signal the end of the round. Let's start explaining the actions now. I will explain the orange zone actions first. These relate to launching and navigating probes. The first one is launch a probe. The cost is 2 credits and then you place it always on Earth. This indication on the board means that initially you cannot have more than one probe in the solar board. Moving your probes is a free action. You gain 1 movement by spending 1 energy, or if you play cards of your hand that give you moves by displaying this pictogram. So if I spend 1 energy and these 2 cards, I get a total of 3 moves. I can split these moves between my probes as I wish. For each move, I can move one of my probes to an orthogonally adjacent space. Whenever you step into a space that has this symbol, you immediately advance your publicity by 1 on the track. Also, you can always spend cards with this symbol to increase your publicity by 1 level again as a free action. Important, you can step into asteroids as normal, but to move away of them, you must spend 2 moves. This is also indicated on this space of your board. The next 2 main actions is to use a probe to become a satellite of a planet or land on the planet. To do this, you must have one of your probes on a planet space except on Earth. Then, as an action, if you spend 1 credit and 1 energy, you can make your probe a satellite of the planet. So you move the probe on this space of the corresponding planet. Then you gain all of the bonuses depicted here, usually including an income increase. In addition, this indication means that the first player who creates a satellite on this planet will also score these victory points. Other players or even the same player may place an additional satellite here, but they will only be getting these rewards. Instead of creating a satellite, with the next action, if you spend 3 energy, you can land the probe on the planet and gain these rewards and these 2 data as the first player on the planet in our case. A standard reward of landers is to mark a yellow trace. I will explain what this means a bit later, after you know how you can gain all different types of traces. Important! If the planet has a satellite owned by any player, the cost to land is 2 instead of 3. This is also noted on the space of your board. After a probe becomes a satellite or lander, it will not move again and no more counts towards your probe limit. The next action I want to explain is to research a technology. By gaining tech tiles, you improve actions or effects that appear on your personal board. The cost is 6 publicity. After you pay, you execute this symbol, which is to move this solar rotation token to the next space following the arrow. The token passed through the yellow ring pictogram, thus you must rotate the yellow only ring on the solar system to the next sector. Next time this happens, you will rotate the middle ring, which will also carry the first one, and so on and so forth. After you rotate the board, you must select one of the tech tiles that you don't already have on your board. There is 1 for every slot. You then gain all immediate bonuses and the victory points of this token if you take the first tech of a type. You then flip the technology tile and place it on the corresponding slot of your board. Let's check the technology tokens that apply to the orange zone of our board with the actions we explained. This technology always allows you to launch a probe for free as an immediate bonus, but that is also the tech that increases your probe limit to 2 probes. The next technology enables your probes to leave asteroids with just 1 move. In addition, all asteroids grant you a publicity when you enter them. The third technology makes landings cheaper, and the last one enables you to land your probe on one of the planet's moons. Most planets have moons with space for just 1 probe. The cost is the same as for landing on the planet, but you can only land on a moon after you have acquired this technology. Now let's explain the one action relating to the purple zone on your board. This action is called scanning. It costs 2 energy and 1 credit, and then you activate all effects of these raw. So this action is mainly improved by the technology you place. Initially, when you perform this action, you make 1 scan to the nearby star of the Earth sector. So it would be this star. When you scan, you send your signal to the star by taking the leftmost data from the star, replacing it with one of your markers. Then you place the data in your data pool. If you have this technology, the scan range widens to the 2 adjacent sectors as well, so I could send a signal to one of these stars. Then, your board indicates a second scan by choosing one of the face-up playing cards next to the board. You then send a signal to any star that matches that color, and you discard the card. Initially, your scanning action concludes here, but if you have this technology, you can spend 1 publicity to make an additional scan in the sector of Mercury. If you have this technology, you can also scan by discarding one of your cards, again to the sector indicated on the card. With the last tech, at the end of your scanning action, you can launch a probe by spending 1 energy or gain a move with one of your probes. As soon as the second marker is placed on a star track, its owner receives 2 victory points. At the end of the scanning action, all nearby stars with all their data removed are scored. The winner is the player with the most markers in the sector, and if there is a tie, then the winner is the tied player that has placed a marker more to the right than other players, in our case, the green player. Important! The number of markers you can place are not limited by the number of slots. You can place more markers in order to win the sector, but you will get no data from this placement. Example, if that were the case and the green player were scanning, if they would manage to scan this sector twice, they would win the sector. The winner of the sector places one of their markers in the winning space and gains the depicted rewards. For this star, there is a reward for the first player winning this sector, and this is a purple trace. All players that had a marker on the track gain 1 publicity, and the player with the second most markers will leave one of them on the first space of the track, while other markers are returned to their owners. The slots then are filled with data tokens from the supply. Now this sector can be scored again, but future first-ranked players will gain 3 victory points and not a trace. Other nearby stars like this one award a trace to all winning players. Let's proceed with the action of the blue zone, which is linked to gaining a blue trace. This area has a row of data slots. As a free action, you may use data in your pool to fill these slots always from left to right. If there is a bonus in the slot, you gain it immediately after you place a data token. Here a publicity, and here you increase your income. You can also discard cards with this bonus in the top left to gain a data token from the supply as a free action. When all slots are filled, then as a main action you can spend 1 energy to analyze the data and gain a blue trace. After that, all data used on the track are returned to the supply, but not the ones on the data pool. Blue technologies can be placed in any slot, but again you cannot have the same tech more than once. All of these improve your data path with 2 victory point bonuses, as well as an optional bonus beneath. You can place data in these slots and get the reward only if the main slot above is already filled. As I said, you don't have to fill these extra slots to perform the Analyze Data action. The last basic action is to play 1 card from your hand for its effect. The cost is in credits as indicated here, and then you execute the parts of this area. These can be any sorts of effects. You can find all pictogram explanations in your player aid, but you can also pause the video now to check them out. Cards that have this gold banner in the bottom are end-of-game scoring cards and will grant you victory points based on conditions. After you trigger the immediate effects, keep this card in your play area. Other cards have conditional and triggerable missions. The immediate effect of this card is to add a signal to a specific nearby star. The card will then remain in your play area because if you manage to win a black sector, or if you already won a sector, you will complete the mission and gain all of these rewards as well. This here is a triggerable mission. After I play this in my play area, if I ever visit Venus in the future, I will place a marker here and gain 1 publicity. If I also visit Mercury, I will place a marker here and also gain a card. Then the mission will be completed. When missions are complete, you flip them and keep them in your play area. The difference with conditional missions is that here, only what you do after you play the card counts. If I visited Mercury before I played this card, I will not gain the card until I visit Mercury again. When you gain a card with this reward, you can take it either from the face-down stack, or you can take any face-up card. When you gain a card with this reward, you take it from the face-down stack only. Whenever a face-up card is taken or used for any reason, it is immediately replaced with another card from the stack. The last action is to pass. Of course, even when you pass, you can also perform free actions on that turn. When you pass, you first check and discard card from your hands in excess of 4. Then you gain 1 of the current round's end-of-round cards. This token acts as a reminder that the first player who passes in a round will rotate the solar system. Remaining cards are placed back in the slot for other players. If you were the last to pass, the remaining card is discarded. If you pass, you are out of the round, but other players will continue taking turns. Finally, during your action, you can convert your resources. You can always spend 3 publicity to buy a card. You can also turn 2 energy or 2 credits or 2 cards to any one of these resources. So I can spend 2 credits for an energy or 1 card, or spend 2 cards to gain even a new random card. Make note that you should not underestimate this power. When you gain traces during your turn, you must take a token and place it to a free trace slot of the corresponding color and gain all depicted rewards. So if I gained a blue trace, I could place it here and gain 5 points and 1 publicity. If you get a trace but there is no space for this type available, you can use these slots. These grant slightly worse rewards, but they can accommodate any number of markers. Each alien board has 3 discovery trace slots right beneath. If all of these slots are filled, then at the end of your turn you discover a new species. You flip the alien board, which reveals additional spaces to place traces in the future. You can use any vacant trace space. You don't have to fill them with any specific order. All of the traces placed here are regarded to be traces for this species. In addition to slots, special gameplay mechanics are introduced, which will be explained in the appendix of this video. So, at the end of your turn, you need to check if a new species is discovered, but also if your scoring marker has passed any milestones. When you pass these milestones, if there is a neutral marker there, you must immediately place one of them in the leftmost empty discovery trace space. This, of course, could lead to the discovery of a new species. If both species are discovered, then these milestones have no further effect. If your scoring marker ever reaches or passes these milestones, then you place one of your markers in the leftmost empty space of one of the end-of-game scoring tiles. This will award end-of-game scoring bonuses based on conditions. During the game you will place up to 3 markers if you reach all 3 gold milestones. These tiles take only 1 marker per player, and the rightmost spaces can accommodate multiple markers from different players. You can pause the video now to check out all such scoring conditions. When all players have passed, each player receives their income based on their income card column. This player takes 5 credits, 4 energy and 3 random cards. The rotation marker is placed on top of the next end of round stack, and the first player token is passed to the next clockwise player. Then you begin the next round. If that was the 5th round, then after the last player passes, you move to the end of game scoring. In scoring, you first add to your score points from end-of-game scoring tiles. From this tile, the player scores 7 points from technology pairs. This player has 5 techs, so 2 pairs and gains 14 points. From this tile, player gains 8 points for every set of 3 different income cards, not counting the initial card. I have 2 sets and gain 16 points. From this tile, 4 points for every completed mission I have. I have completed 4 and gained 16 points. Finally, from this tile you score points for sets of different traces, but the player has no marker here and scores nothing. Then players score points from played cards with a scoring reward. With this card the player gains 3 points for each winning marker in a red sector, thus 9 points. Finally, some alien species offer special end-of-game victory points. We will check them out in the appendix. The player with the most victory points wins the game. If there is a tie, all tied players share their victory. In the game there are 5 different alien species and only 2 random ones are used in each game. Every species has its own card deck and special gameplay mechanics and rules. You don't have to know all of these rules in advance, just play the game, and once you discover a new species, take its corresponding card, read its instructions and you're good to go. However, I will now explain all rules concerning alien species. If you have discovered anomalies, you add these 3 anomaly tokens in specific spaces of the solar system using a random side. One is placed on the Earth sector, one is placed 3 sectors clockwise from the Earth, and the last one 3 sectors counterclockwise from Earth. Then you take the anomalies card set and give 1 to players for each of their markers in the discovery spaces, so the brown player gains 2 cards and the green player 1. With the rest of the cards, create a supply and reveal the top card. During the game you can gain more species cards by filling trace spaces with this symbol. When you do so, you can take the face-up card or a random card from the stack. Each of the anomaly tiles is linked to a specific trace type. When by rotation the Earth moves to a sector with an anomaly, you check the corresponding trace column on the alien species for the player who has the highest placed marker. That player gains the bonus depicted on the anomaly. Now the green player will gain 2 publicity. These areas can accommodate any number of markers. In this column, the highest marker is that of the purple player. If you discovered Oumuamua, place their spaceship planet tile in this area in the solar system and fill its slots with data. Then take the cards and again give 1 for each of the player's markers in the discovery spaces. With the rest of the cards, create a supply and reveal the top card. Create a supply of exofossil tokens next to the board. Some trace space bonuses award you with a new species card from the top of the stack or the face-up card. With this bonus you gain that amount of exofossil tokens. These spaces require you to spend that amount of exofossils in order to place your marker there. The tile of Oumuamua acts as a separate planet. If you have a probe there, you can send it as a satellite or land on its surface. When you can scan the sector containing Oumuamua, you can select to send the signal to Oumuamua instead. With this bonus, you can scan the nearby star in the Oumuamua sector or the Oumuamua tile itself. When the Oumuamua track is filled with player markers, before resetting it, each player that placed at least 1 marker gains an exofossil. When you discover the Centaurians, take these milestones corresponding to player colors and place them 15 steps further from the player's scoring marker. Take the Centaurian cards and randomly give one for each of players' markers in the discovery spaces. With the rest of the cards, create a face-down supply and reveal the top card. When you gain this bonus, you can take the face-up card of the species deck or take a random card from the top of the deck. Once you reach your personal milestone with your scoring marker, pick it up and cover any milestone rewards in this area, making it unavailable for other players. Some tree spaces require you to spend an amount of data from your data pool. Centaurian cards cost energy instead of credits. These cards grant immediate bonuses, but you also play one of your markers 15 points ahead of your scoring marker as a milestone. When you reach it, you execute the instructions on the green part of the card. If you discover Mascamites, take the 7 sample tokens, shuffle them and place 3 of them on Jupiter and 3 of them on Saturn, facing downwards, and the last one place it face up on this space. Take the Mascamite cards and randomly give one for each of the players' markers in the discovery spaces. With the rest of the cards, create a supply and reveal the top card. When you gain this bonus, you can take the face-up card of the species deck or take a random card from the top of the deck. Most of Mascamite cards enable you to interact with samples. This card, for example, gives a movement and also a free landing on a planet. Now, if that planet is Jupiter or Saturn and there are free tokens there, you secretly examine all of these tokens and then you pick the one of your choice by placing one of your markers on the token which is still hidden. Now, regard this token as a probe carrying the token. It functions exactly as a probe. The only difference is you cannot land to a planet or make it a satellite of a planet. The card instructs that you must deliver the sample to Earth. When you do this, you reveal the token, get its reward and place it face up in one of these slots. Now this becomes a new slot for a blue trace. When Exertians are discovered, take their special deck of cards and deal 3 to each player, plus another one for each of the players' markers in the discovery spaces. Then players may play one of these cards for each of their markers in the discovery spaces as well. In this example, the green player takes 3 plus 2, 5 cards, and after examining them, they can play up to 2 at this moment. Remaining cards return to the box. These cards are not part of your playing hand and are not played with the play a card action, but only in specific points in time. Take these 2 special milestone tokens and place this one 20 point spaces further than the first player scoring marker and the second 40 point spaces further. When your scoring marker reaches these milestones, you may play one of these cards. This milestone requires you to spend 1 credit as well. So, you get to play these in the beginning if you had markers in discovery spaces, but you get the chance to play up to 2 more during the game. These cards indicate specific objectives. If these are achieved, they will award victory points to the player in final scoring. The cards you play are placed facing downwards near your play area. Another feature of Exertians is danger. The cards you play in your play area also give you a danger value. Important, you will gain this danger even if you don't achieve the objective, but only if you play the card. You could even not play any of these cards. You also gain visible danger when you place traces on the Exertian board. Spaces are split in 3 zones. In this example, the green player has accumulated 15 danger so far, plus the danger from played cards. During final scoring, players reveal their played cards and gain the appropriate points. But the player with the highest danger total loses 10% of their total score rounding down. So if the green player scored 245 points in the game and had the most danger, they would lose 24 points. If players tie for danger, all tied players will lose 10% of their points. And that were the rules of Seti, and that's a game I really recommend you to try out. If you like our videos and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, have fun and play more board games.